Every 4 years, the streets and pubs and restaurants of England ignite with passion of the English fans. Um, this is because of the World Cup. Every 4 years, there's a big gathering of teams in international football that brings together all kinds of cultures and brings some of the most passion in the sporting world and in the world in general. Um, so today I'm going to be telling you about the significance of football, and I don't mean American football, I mean soccer, but I'm going to call it football, and the World Cup in English culture. Um, so basically today I'm going to be telling you about the early history of the World Cup, the early history of English football before they were a part of the World Cup, and then England's history in the World Cup, and England's more recent history in the World Cup, as well as basically the overall feeling of, what this brings to the people in England. Um, First off, the World Cup began in 1930 in Uruguay, and it started out with mostly countries from South America and only a couple countries from Europe. And England didn't go for until 1950 because from about 1850 to 1950, England basically just played games against Ireland, Scotland, and Wales just other like UK teams just to keep it local and just build rivalries with them because those were the games that people cared about. Even in that time, football was already like the national sport. It was what everybody cared about. England felt like they were the first team to play the proper version of football or proper football. And then, so by the time that England first joined the World Cup in 1950, they hadn't really played in much international competition other than against, like Ireland and Scotland. And then so they already felt like they, should be one of the top world powers against these other teams. And they started off in 1950, and it wasn't quite that, but you could still feel the passion and the determination of the England faithful all around. And then, so and from 1950 to about 1962, England had mild success in the World Cup, but not great. But still, you could tell England was, a big team, and they were one that was, looking to become a world power, and with so much passion from the fan base, one of the most passionate fan bases in the world. And then in 1966, England finally won their first World Cup. In 1966, it was at home at Wembley Stadium in London. They won it, and this was a huge thing for England and football in general, as it was like absolute scenes, absolute delirium everywhere in England at this time. They won in extra time after a hat trick from Jeff Hurst, and fans basically rushed the field. It was absolute ecstasy for the England fans at this point, and then that really brought a lot of passion for it, and it was like the best time in England's history in the World Cup, and this was really the first time that you could see how big it was. As you can see, there's one of like the biggest parades that like the world had seen about sports in at this time. But then after this, there was a big period of not much success and not even much talent from 1970 to like 19 or to about 2000. But then in came England's golden generation, as they were called. And England's golden generation was led by guys like Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes, all those guys. But they basically they were the future of England, and they were seen as the best players England had ever had, led by guys like Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney, all these guys. But so this generation was a golden generation. It was led by David Beckham. He was the biggest cultural player that I think England's ever had, where he was such an impact on the culture of England. Everybody loved David Beckham in England. Everybody loved him honestly throughout the world. And his big moment was in 2001 to send England to the World Cup with a beautiful free kick goal, and that was really a reignition of the passion in England. They always had the passion, but it just had to lie dormant for a while before this golden generation. But then when this golden generation hit, it ultimately ended in failure. Sadly, in 2002 and 2006, they got eliminated from the World Cup without making the semifinals, and this was very disappointing. You can see here Phil Gaza crying and John Terry crying. Um, after the 2002 and 2006 World Cups, this was huge moments for all these players, and the fact that they weren't able to win it was one of the things that really showed the passion and how painful it was for the fans and the players. Um, and then in 2014, they got eliminated in the group stage, another disappointment. But finally, in 2018, England's World Cup fates turned for the better, where they actually made it to the semifinals in a fantastic way. And, basically, this season was described as football's coming home, as England believes they deserve to win it, as they see themselves as they see themselves as the home of modern football and pure football. And so once they were really doing well, everybody was saying football is coming home. There was delirium everywhere in England. It was a really passionate time for the fans and the players. They got eliminated in the semifinals, but it was a really great run, and that really just showed the passion that they had once again. So really, football is everything in England, and the World Cup is the pinnacle of football, and this is what England lives for. This is what everybody in England longs for, is to win a World Cup. It's such a vital part of the culture, and there's so much just passion around it, and you can see this based on you saw this passion in the 1996 or the 1966 pitch invasion in the parade after their win. You saw this with the disappointment of the failed golden generation. You saw this with the 2014 early exit, and you finally saw the reignition of the success and the passion in 2018. Football in England is everything that they want, and it's really what brings the nation together, and it's a vital part of the culture. Thank you.
I was the audience.